Chapter 969, 970, 971. We're just catching up.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Podcast. We're sorry to have left you for such a long time, but we're back. Not on our normal channel, but maybe eventually it'll be re-uploaded there. I'm the best guy ever, and this is Give and Take.
Hey guys, we've been in a bit of hot boiling oil, so to speak. We've been run aground. Our ship got caught on some garlic-shaped rocks, and we've been taken on water. It sucks. So what we're gonna do today is we're going to go through the chapters that we missed out on, thanks to the channel being hacked and then deleted.
Somebody ate the hack fruit. It's just, you know, we're working to kill
hacked
that man.
it hacked our boat in half.
Right, that too.
So we're going to go through the chapters we missed, and then the most recent chapter that just came out, we're going to do as well at the same time, and upload that as a separate episode, which you should probably watch first if you're interested in all that stuff.
Yep, it'll be there if you want to. But first, let's do our recap episode. We'll do the last 3 chapters that we missed before this one. That's going to be chapter 969, 970, and 971. Let's get to it. Before we do that, actually, first of all, let's just quickly address the cover art. Wait,
I don't
have that on mine.
I don't have that on mine either.
Wait, I'll find it.
I mean, it's just one of those like intermediary panels of like the what's happening with the fire tank pirates, and nothing's really happening. It's just a guy, and somebody's Chiffon's been kidnapped or something.
I have to have it. We can't possibly miss one. That would kill me for all time.
I've looked at the beginnings of these 3 chapters, and nothing seems to happen. Chiffon's just captured,
sure.
and then there's one of the pirates is going, "Where is she?"
I have to find it. If you want, okay, we can pause. We can pause and maybe cut this, but I can't move on until I find this. It'll just take me a second. Okay, so I found a very small image of it on Viz's website. It's like it's the preview image, but I can see Gotti being kicked by someone, and I can't see what's going on. Oh, wait, it was that other pirate, right? The Marines showed up and were beating up these pirates, and one of them was a real cool guy and kicked Gotti from the fire tank pirates. I can't read the caption, but it doesn't matter. Okay, thank God I was able to find it. Moving on from that. Now, before we get to the actual chapter, just real quick to remind everybody where chapter 968, oh, so many fucking numbers, left off. That chapter was where Gold Roger's quest had ended. He left the ship, and Oden returned to Wano, and he had gotten back. He had like met with his retainers, and he had heard about like how fucked everything is, about how Orochi is like fucking over the whole country with the alliance with Kaido, and they had like hurt Toki with the arrow to the leg, arrow to the knee. It was an epic Skyrim reference. So he had just dashed off to go slay Orochi instantly for all the fucked up stuff he had done, and so he was immediately going to kill him. No waste of time. He's right about to murder the man. That's where we left our heroes. Okay, now, chapter 969, what has happened? Gib, what's going on?
All right, so Oden continues his slice, and he slices straight through Orochi, but there's a barrier come up, and it blocks the attack, and it's the same barrier fruit that Bartolomeo has. So this
That's
guy,
correct.
This guy with the ShamWow here, confirmed dead.
Yeah.
Confirmed dead at some point in the future, because the devil fruit
yes.
goes on to be someone else's. Although,
So just like
yeah,
go on.
I mean, maybe there's no instance of like a person having like an artificial version of somebody who already has the devil fruit, but there's no reason to believe that. So
you know, the closest there is actually one exactly one example of what appears to be kind of like an overlapping power, and this actually may be very relevant for the fights that's coming up, and it's a little bit different, but it's Orochi has a dragon devil fruit clearly, and the unique smile eaten by Momonosuke is also a dragon devil fruit of some kind. So I'm thinking that may be significant for like the battle that's coming up or something. I don't know, but that's like the only time I think we've seen like an actual clear copy. Although, I guess to be fair, remember how in Skypiea, Gonfal's bird Pierre had eaten a horse devil fruit, I believe. And we know that remember what's her face? I can't remember the girl, but there was a girl in Kaido's Pirates who had eaten like the horse smile, so she became like a weird centaur girl.
Well, yeah,
so maybe that was like the same
different.
one.
Smile fruits are different. I mean, this doesn't seem to be a smile in any way. It's just a thing. So
yeah, you're right.
More likely that this guy is just going to die, and then the fruit is going to become Bartolomeo's later.
There's like a 24-year gap or 25-year or whatever, so that's plenty of time for that to happen. It looks pretty old. I think that's probably why Oda chose to make these characters like very old in this situation. So,
yeah.
Well done, pretty cool. And actually, this is interesting because it kind of clarifies further something I'd been wondering about. We hadn't seen like any instance of Bartolomeo's barriers like ever cracking under any circumstances ever. So I guess they see, and the fact that Oden's really trying to get in there and can't, I guess they're just like straight up literally invincible, and no one can break them no matter what, which is pretty cool.
It's a pretty powerful technique.
Damn right it is.
I really wonder like how strong you would need to be to get through it. Maybe you can't have them, like you have to concentrate so hard, and eventually you'll need to fall asleep or something.
Yeah, I mean, to like convince the guy to take it down, or like to do, I don't know, some crazy shenanigans in order to get there. Or like when Bartolomeo was fighting Gladius, and Gladius just like swole up like a balloon inside the barrier. You could like crush people in there or something. There's probably a couple things you can do, but this is a very OP fruit, based on what we're seeing so far. And my favorite thing about this is how the guy's like, yeah, the barrier won't let you come closer, Oden. Your strength would help you. This is a really cool situation where, like, Oden is incredibly strong, but, like, strength straight up just doesn't matter in, like, this situation. And we're going to see more stuff that comes as a result of this that's, like, one man's strength will not make the difference. It's about, like, the situation, like, the political leverage and, like, taking hostages and shit like that. So it's very cool, and it's like a... It's really sad, because what we're about to see over the next several chapters, as I'm sure everybody already knows, is just, like, the downfall of, like, a powerful, incredibly strong pirate off, like, the greatest adventure of his life to, like, the tragedy of his death and all that horrible shit that we already know is coming. It's really sad, but it's also an interesting story, so good job, Oda, getting me along.
Worth retaining that this is also a Kurozumi man. He is related to Orochi, as well as the old hag.
All these guys are part of the Kurozumi conspiracy to, like, put fucking, Orochi on top and do a bunch of bullshit. So, okay, that sounds cool.
So, people rejoice that Oden has come back. They've been like, oh, thank God, the country's gone to shit since Orochi's been here. But then, Oden is forced into a situation where he can't do anything. He has to dance like a fool in front of everyone for money and naked, making himself a mockery, and everyone's smiles dissipate. They're upset now, and Kaido's there, and it's all looking like Oden came back and he was just a big disappointment.
Yep, that's pretty much where we're at. And, of course, everyone's like, Nani? Like, what? Like, how could this be? And, I mean, from the second I saw this panel, but even before I'd read I'm like, okay, like, there's gonna be a justification, like, they made a deal, blah, 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 and, I won't spoil whether or not that turns out to be true.
I mean, at this point, since we're doing, like, catch-up, it's fine to, like, spoil things that happen in later chapters.
Yeah, I guess you're
right.
People
who are up with One Piece have been reading the chapters. They don't need us to do that.
That's fair. That's fair. Okay. At first I thought this was kind of dumb. Because it does turn out he's like making a deal to like help Wano and stuff. But when I reread it again just now, I was like, I respect what Oden is trying to do here. He really thinks he's doing good work. But I guess I'll just kind of skip ahead and say one thought about this whole thing. Like, he's doing this to save the lives of the Wano's people. I'll leave the specifics for when we get there in the chapters. But, like, what I don't like about it is that Oden, like, keeps this to himself. He doesn't tell, like, anyone why he's doing this, including his retainers and stuff. And this is what I don't like about it. It's that it turns out to have been a gigantic mistake. And, like, by doing this, he costs himself all opportunity to actually rise up and, like, fight back. And it's like he could have easily, like, it's not that this wasn't a noble intention. It's that this was really, really, really stupid to do and actively made everyone worse off.
You have, like he, in that situation, I think, like, it does seem stupid. Like, their deal was, they, you know, if you dance, then we won't kill and kidnap hundreds of people every week. From the Wano Kingdom.
And we promised to eventually leave as well.
And we promised that in 5 years, once we finish building our ships, because I guess they said it'll take 5 years to build our ships and so we can leave. Yep. In 5 years, once we build the ships, we will leave, and that'll be that. And Oden, like, obviously that's not going to happen. If Oden did think that they were going to keep their word, then he is kind of an idiot.
That's exactly what he did. He took their word for it, and they just were like, "Oh, obviously we lied about that."
But we don't know for sure that he completely believed them.
We
do know, like, if you think about his position, I don't think he had much of a choice, because those people were going to die if he started fighting, and he was like, "Well, if there's a choice between, like, letting people die and not, I guess I'll dance."
He subjected his people. Okay, yeah, sure, he didn't know this at the time, but his actions here, like, okay, Orochi straight up says later, like, geez, it sure is a good thing you didn't rise up against me then, and we made this deal to string you along. Yeah, right, Kaido. Because if you had, like, it would have been a way worse time for me, and I would have had, like, a way less likely to win. And, like, sure, there would have been casualties, but, like, and we also know that Orochi specifically has genocidal intentions for Wano, like, not just to rule. So, like, some of those factors are relevant, but in practical terms, the country would have been better off if he tried rising up. And even if Orochi himself was not wise enough to realize that that was the case at the time, then, like, I just have to criticize his credentials as a leader, which is the only thing that really matters in this situation. Like, the narrative here is like, oh, Orochi was such a great leader. No, he was a terrible leader. He made awful decisions that cost Wano more dearly than, like, anything. So, like, yeah, he personally, yes, he was a hero. He took a lot of self-sacrifice. But, like, that's not what, you know, being a hero, or that's not what being a good leader is about. It's about doing the best things for your people. None of this all his sacrifices are really meaningful and impressive and whatnot, but it leaves a bit of a sour taste in my mouth when I think back at, like, like, for example, in the flashback during Skypiea with, like, Mont Blanc Norland and Calgar and that stuff, even to this day, I think back and I'm like, wow, those guys really did some heroic shit, and they really worked hard and like, saved the day. And, like, the tragedy of Mont Blanc Norland being murdered for being called a liar, because of, like, the knock-up stream and, like, the place disappearing, I can look back and be like, that man is vindicated by history, and he actually was a hero, and he did a lot of great stuff. Oden was actually a fuck-up. He was actually, like, a bad leader.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things that Oda loves to do, which is the misunderstood, like, the people, the guy that is secretly, you know, the best person ever, but nobody thinks it, and, you know, going unappreciated. Right. And only the coolest guys are the people who understand the truth, and it's like...
Look at Yasue earlier in this very arc. He was exactly the same, yeah.
So it's like, it's cool to have that, but it's on a superficial level here, a little bit. Like, something like...
because we resolved this in 3 chapters, and we're just... you could cut this arc, and it would make basically no difference. It just makes Oden... you know, have fucked up.
Yeah, it's
worse
like
than otherwise.
He comes back, people don't like him, so there's the reason people don't like him. And then by the end of these 3 chapters, they do like him again.
Hooray. We did it.
So it's really just for that familiar cathartic, the people learn the truth, and then they're like, oh no, we were wrong. And that's the moment that, you know.
That's correct.
I mean, it's kind of cool, and I did like it.
You know what? I actually do kind of like it, and on the superficial level of just, like, Orochi became, like, a silly dancing man, I don't think that's, like, a bad
you're mixing
thing
up
for
Orochi and Oden.
These O names, the Otamas and Okikus and all
oh
these
no's.
fuckins. Oh no, I'm goofing it up. On a surface level, I like that Oden is being a silly dancing man, and like I know in his heart he's being a good man and trying to save people. All true, all very respectable, but I already stated my case on it.
Not very cynical of him. He's very trusting of Orochi and Kaido to just believe that they would leave.
And this is the thing. A lot of like shonen series and stuff, like what Oden as a hero, as a member of the Gold Roger crew, was like great, was fantastic, because he didn't like need to do anything except like protect himself and like do adventure stuff, which is his expertise. But it's just like his most important role of all, really. I mean, okay, you could argue that like reading the poneglyphs and like opening Wando's borders and inspiring that stuff, that's like the most important thing from him, and that's definitely true. But just like as a leader, he's pretty terrible.
Yes.
The fact he already abandoned Wano once years ago. He just turned his back on the fucking country because he wanted to have an adventure. He didn't know that was for the sake of the world or anything. He just wanted to party on the fucking Grand Line. So that's a little fucked up.
Yeah. I just realized.
Oh well.
This dancing stuff, we don't get an explanation of the deal until later. So I feel like this is almost, this is, as well as being like a bit of a, a weird setup and payoff that's sort of really quick. It's also stringing along the reader. Like, I was thinking the first time I read this, what if it's the guy who could change faces and he's pretending to be Lord Oden and Lord Oden is in captivity? And it's like, that would have been like, but no, it's just Oden decided to do it. And the only reason you would think that that is because the guy can change, that old lady can change the face and act as someone else.
And so that's just an incredibly important thing that someone can do. Both in Alabasta and now, where that, like when Mr. 2 is pretending to be King Cobra and did a whole bunch of crazy shit to cause, basically that started the war, the fact that they were impersonating the king and doing all fucked up stuff. Yeah.
It's just sort of I don't know.
It's one of these things where the writing is a little bit less than I would have liked, ideally. I mean, One Piece is no, like, grand historical literature work.
I think
it's a bit surface level here.
There could be some, like, historical aspects, like, people have talked about Oden's past, and they said, well, this happened, and then people didn't like him. And so he has to write a moment where people didn't like him. But because of how fast these flashbacks have needed to be in order to catch up, like, to not take, like, a whole year, it's maybe lost some of its weight in only being this short.
The funny thing about that is that, for one, I don't think in the history of One Piece before this flashback we've ever heard anyone say a bad word against Oden. So I don't think that was ever set up that was the case. And even if it was, Oda already included the initial backstory of Oden as like a guy who was misunderstood as doing tons of bad things in his youth. So like none of this would be necessary to justify that, even if it was like part of the story. So, to me, this feels very apparent as like what this is it's Oda doing the typical serialized weekly manga thing. He's just sticking in a little extra arc to give a little more time, like, to this arc. Maybe because he wants to pace things out a little bit longer. He wants, like, one last, I don't know, kind of meandering, twisting thing before we get to the finale, which is impressive and is really cool, but just ultimately didn't really.
Well, I mean, there's aspects of it. I do like the one aspect that, during his execution, people are shitting on him while he's burning. That's like, ooh, that's harsh. It's true. It adds something that the crowd changes their mind, and then he still perseveres, and it's like, then he dies, and then they're all on his side at the end. So
I like all that stuff. I do like all that stuff.
Anyway,
let's get through the facts of the matter here.
So he learns that Roger is dead. He cries. We get a little brief thing of, by the way, the Gecko Moria and the Kaido, they have their fight here, and this is where Ryuma's grave was robbed, and that's so. Just so you know, guys, lore guys on the Wikipedia.
It's one of these things.
One of those panels that just explain, like, okay, cool.
Did we need this? No, but there it is. It's fine. It's good. Well done. And we can see that Moria had his like young physique there, and like if you look at Moria now, since we met him in Thriller Bark, he's got like a big like stitch down the front of his face, and he has like no chin. He probably got his chin literally removed from his fucking body through a big swing of Kaido's club or something.
I don't think of it like that. I think of it like he got fat. Like this is him like young and lean, and then he just he just got big and fat by eating shadows or whatever.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. The fact that he's fat is definitely like a part of his character. Yeah, all right. Well, that's cool. So Moria is definitely stated to have been like way stronger back in the day. So I guess this was him at his peak. Rest in peace, Gecko Pirates.
So this is Oden's like continuing to dance, and over the years, people, the cool people are like still trust Oda, like the wife of Hyogoro the Flower. And all that, and they're all like, yeah, we know you're cool, Oden.
Her name is Okami-san.
Oh my god.
That's a game.
I've been playing Okami recently.
You've been playing this woman behind Hyogoro's back with his very wife? That's scandalous.
Uh-huh. It's all true. The tabloids have it. So then Orochi comes into Kuri, and he's like...
After 5 years, he's been doing this. 5 fucking years now. He's been dancing every week.
He comes in, he says, I'm going to build a bunch of factories here. Fuck you, steps on your face. And then he's like, huh? What about leaving? Remember our deal? It's like, I've altered the deal, and I will continue to alter deals until I die, you stupid fuck.
Mm-hmm.
And
who could have seen this coming? Who could have seen this betrayal? And then he just says, like, oh, and by the way, Hyogoro tried to rise up when he heard about me fucking around. So, I imprisoned Hyogoro, gave him to Kaido, and also killed a bunch of his men, including his wife, including Okami-chan.
Yeah, we just
dead.
met her. I don't think we've seen her before this point.
No, we have not.
So it's just like...
Well done, Oda.
It is one of those, like, super fast, like, it's a gut punch so fast you don't even feel it. Like, you feel nothing. Like, oh no, this character I didn't even really know existed has been killed. I don't care, but like I know Hyogoro, so like that's sort of. But I also know that he survived, so.
He does survive. He's probably just going to be in jail from this point on, and then Luffy will meet him and get trained in hockey and all that good stuff. This emotional punch is like, how Brook and other samurai characters do the dash past you and then they walk for a few steps, and then you suddenly feel the slice. In like 10 years, we're gonna be like, "Ooh, I really emoted when that character."
In 10 years, when One Piece is halfway done,
right?
We're gonna be like, "Oh, no! I really wish Okami was here. I really wish Okami was here to see this panel."
Oh, won't that be fun?
So, Oden has no reason to hold up the charade anymore. He's like, fuck this. Yep. Kaido will pay all of his boys and him. They do the epic pose. They put on their funny hats and they go into the sunset. We're going to kill Kaido.
And it's the red glow on the sunset, illuminating their backs and scabbards. This is why they are called the Red Scabbards, the 9 Red Scabbards. Okay, cool. But by the way, before we move on from this point, we pretty much touched on the motivation of the character already, but... So this is all good. Oh, by the way, do you think that Oden's hair is actually designed to look like one of these, like, what do you call it? Like the straw hats that the samurai has? Is that the idea?
I don't think potentially it could be some other kind of Japanese head thing that I'm not aware of.
Okay, Oden is a dish. It's a food that's like a boiling pot that you put a bunch of food into. Here's just one random idea. Maybe his hair represents the lid on the pot of the Oden. And so he would, he's like it's like a top of a boiling pot. Maybe. Okay, anyway, I was going to say about this, as I've said before, in no way do I begrudge Oden. And I think Oda wrote it just fine. Like the fact that Oden would agree to this deal. What fucks me up about this is how retardedly trusting Oden was, that these obvious liars and criminals and he murdered your fucking father already. He trusted those guys to honor the deal. To me, that strains believability beyond the point that is reasonable. It's why the fuck would he trust them to do that? And I guess the only thing I can think of is that he's so fucked up that if he fights now, they'll continue to steal more Wano citizens. The big war will hurt a lot of people. But what that is just terrible leadership. If you're oh, okay, I won't fight back now. Instead, I will, because this is what happens. He loses all support over these 5 years, which was exactly Kaido's plan by doing this dance thing so no one wants to support him anymore except his really close friends, so that, like, he will have, like, no chance if they ever tries to rise up in the future. He just so played to the fiddle of his enemies and did exactly what they wanted him to do, even though it doesn't make sense in my mind.
Yeah. I mean,
see what I'm saying?
It's just sort of like the bad guys have to do a bad thing, and so it's understandable that, like, oh, I have these people hostage. You're a good person, so you wouldn't, you'll do this stuff under the, the basis that if you do anything that we don't want you to do, we'll kill them. Yeah. And it's like, damn, I'm trapped. But, like, if you think about it in a more realistic, non-cartoony, like, way, you would sacrifice those people in order to save everyone overall. Like, that's more of a thing that would happen. But because One Piece, and I mean, it's not like One Piece is for babies, but
like,
I don't expect it to, like, delve into, like, what's the term for this thing? Like, killing one person to save 5 or whatever.
Like, philosophical questions of, how to sacrifice many to save the few, like utilitarianism and all that stuff.
There's a term for that, but yeah.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, okay, that's fine. I agree. I don't need that much depth, even though I would argue your typical, like, good story writer, like, weaves in themes of those sorts of things just in a way that it just flows into the story, and, like, people, like, it just becomes part of the narrative in a satisfying way. But even putting that aside, like it's just people, apologists who like anything that they like and they want to pretend that it has no flaws will say, like, it had to be done this way. It's a flashback, Nate. He had to lose to Kaido. Okay, no. In one panel, I could fix this entire plot thread. Here's what it is. Okay, it's just that Kaido, like, just as one example, Kaido has that girl who can transform, right? Who can, like, change shape and turn into anybody. All you have to do, in my mind, to resolve, like, all of this, all my current big issue about his motivation, is, like, have Oden be, like, secretly meeting with, like, someone who he thinks is trustworthy in the form of that. Like, how about like that ninja girl we meet?
Shinobu.
It could be like Shinobu or anybody, any of it, like Raizo. Okay, maybe not Raizo because he talks to him a lot, but Shinobu, who's, like, not here right now. Just have her show up, and, like, she could give reports to Oden specifically about, like, the progress of building the fleet and how Oden is, like, getting ready to leave. And, like, those sorts of things. You're
mixing up names again. Who are you talking about?
I'm talking about Shinobu and the form-changing lady, who has the Mane no fruit that Mr. 2 has that lets her change shape and everybody. The point I'm saying is, if we had just included some little information via any means that, like, Oden was being fed reliable seeming information that Oden and Orochi were seriously getting ready to leave, and he had, like, real reason to believe that, and I think that person who can change the shape into, like, someone who would be believable.
So you're saying, like, Oden would be like have some reason to believe that Orochi is doing what he said he was
exactly
doing.
Because
okay.
Right now there is no reason he should believe that, and I just think it's shitty writing to, like, just have him be that gullible to just believe them. Is Oden that gullible? I don't think so. This man murdered his father. And they're already kidnapping hundreds of citizens of Wano. These are not trustworthy people. That bugs me a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, anyway, we can move on to the next chapter and see what goes on there. So let's switch to 970.
Yeah. So 970, Oden vs. Kaido. The cover page this time, there's Capone Gang Bajaj. Mm-hmm. And Beji and Vito immobilized by Kiss people. They're kissing.
Indeed.
I honestly forget why there's kissing involved, but they are.
I don't think there's actually been an explanation for why these people are kissing.
Like, I was assuming there's, like, a person showing a power and makes people want to kiss or something.
I don't think we've seen that. Like, that probably will be the explanation. I just don't think it's been shown yet. Maybe. Yeah. I don't know.
Anyway, Oden, Red Scabbards come in to do the thing that they should have done immediately. That took instead 5 years to do. They go up to Kaido. Kaido says to them, "Lol, you fucking idiot. If you had fought me then, it would have been a much more close battle because we hadn't been, I was, a smaller pirate crew, I guess, at that time. I hadn't been established.
Apparently. Yeah.
And if you had the entire country and Hyogoro and all those guys, You could have beat me, maybe. So like it would have been it would have been a very close fight. And but you waited for 5 years, and now I have the upper hand, you dumbass. And now I'm just gonna come here, and I'm gonna kill you. And that's what I'm gonna do. And I'm Kaido, haha. I'm a big dragon.
He says one line. Now, a lot of people are probably, they're like, this is another one of those lines that's thrown in there to like justify Oden's actions, even though it just logically doesn't make sense. It's that like, just like, you're like Newgate and Roger. You chose the method that wouldn't hurt anyone. They were soft too, unlike me. So like, they're just trying to be, Oden's like as cool as Roger and Whitebeard guys. Wow, he's so cool. I know I'm exaggerating a little bit, but like this is more like justification for Oden's action. But none of that matters if there's simply illogical pathways of thinking being followed, which is my argument. Okay, but no matter. Fight, time to happen.
I mean, there's that. I mean, you could be charitable and just say, well, maybe it just makes more sense the more context you have, and we're just not seeing enough of it. Like the deal specifics. I don't know. I guess. I could see people being charitable towards this or not.
I feel like I am pretty damn charitable. It's just like once I realize that there is no explanation for something, either there is an explanation that I've missed, or there isn't one. And
well, the explanation is
dumb.
I don't want to hurt people, therefore I will do what they ask, even if it may. Like your position is. How could he be so gullible? But maybe he knew exactly what he was getting himself into, and he was just hoping beyond hope that they were actually doing what they said they were. And he couldn't do anything, to... He didn't want to risk doing anything that would make them change their minds. He was hoping they were going to stay the course. I feel like the first time I read this, I was like... I wasn't thinking of it like that, and I was like, so he was backed into a corner. This is all he could do. The deal was you can't tell anybody, and you have to act like an idiot for 5 years and lose all of your followers. Yeah. And it's like, if you did, it's like, what else could you have done? Yeah. I don't know. Maybe he could have done more, but like, there's no proof that he could have done more.
All I'm saying is that, like, the narrative that we've always been presented is that Oden is, like, the best dude ever, and he's, like, so fucking sick, and he's never done anything bad. But, like, this is such a colossal mistake of leadership specifically. From a personal heroism, like, self-sacrifice point, yes, it is impressive. But as a leader, this is the sort of thing that would get you, like, absolutely despised by your people, even if you have the best of intentions. This is absolutely a road to hell.
Oh,
that he would let his people down.
Do you know what this is? This is
what?
Tengen Toppan Gurren Lagann. There's Kamina, and then there's the other guy. Who's the other guy?
Rosyu.
This is a non-Rosyu type leader. He lacks the Rosyu, and that's why you're getting so upset. Like he is like the leader in the sense that he is so epic and cool and wow, is so badass. Even if he's an idiot, even if he's a dumbass and he makes mistakes, he's really strong and he protects his friends with his life. And it's like everyone remembers that sort of character, and it echoes throughout the histories, and it inspires people in the future. That is the sort of hero that Oda likes writing, and he thinks is the coolest thing ever. And Rosyu type characters that are more realistic are sort of absent from One Piece because it is a manga about piracy. But
that's what manga are like typically, shonen manga like this. Sure.
So it's like I can see why you want that, and I see also why Oda doesn't want to write that necessarily. I mean, he kind of does that with Law, but Law is like not the
Law is fucking popular as shit for some reason, but
he is popular as
not
shit.
To me.
But like it's Luffy is definitely not gonna. Whatever. I'm just figuring it out.
I know.
I'm just having a brain blast here. That's all.
You make a good point. That like that sort of thing. My line of thinking is not what One Piece is like typically about. It's just that like when we're given the full context of like beloved by his people, blah blah blah. Like I guess it's true. Like the people of Wano probably just remember the personal heroism of Oden over the catastrophic leadership mistakes he made. And you know what? Given One Piece, or at least given like the priorities of the series, I can buy that, even though I would argue that like in real life, like the citizens under him would not forgive him or respect him for like causing so much suffering due to his mismanagement.
You know what? Also is like when Luffy has like a situation that You know, he still acts like himself, and he's not smart. But it just so happens to be that he made the right decision.
Bro, when he infected himself with Queen's virus he could have easily fucking died to just some random disease, the mummy virus or whatever. That was so unbelievably stupid to do, but because it's One Piece, it works out.
Yeah, it's because it's Luffy. You don't want Luffy to make a quantifiably bad decision, so you make things convenient in order for him to do the badass thing and have it be the right thing to do. There we figured out One Piece. You're
right.
Everything makes sense.
Philosophically speaking, as you were saying, One Piece is all about like lionizing the Kamina lifestyle, the like grit and guts and go forward. Even though we know in real life you have to have a more nuanced view of the world to get somewhere, One Piece is just kind of about one side of that equation. And you know what? Fair enough. Oden is definitely the embodiment of that side of things. So, okay, fair enough. Make a fair point.
Yeah. So, the battle begins. The battle begins. The samurai are really strong, and the beast pirates are like, whoa. We outnumber them, but they're so scary.
I'm a little surprised that our 10 total boys are actually putting up a very strong fight against 1,000 of he might not yet, I guess, be a Yonko at this point, so maybe it's slightly more reasonable that they're able to put up this much of a fight. But they're obviously very strong boys.
I mean, Oden himself is on the level of Roger and Whitebeard, so it's like
that's
you
true.
could imagine that person doing quite a lot even on his own.
Well, you know, with Oden, I totally see that. I'm a little bit surprised that everybody else is doing as well as they are, but I guess that's just, whatever. They're really strong. Fair enough. I guess, actually, the story is kind of, it puts a lot of respect on specifically, a lot of, like, value on these followers of Oden as, like, I read a story a long time ago. I forget what it was called, but it was about, like, a bunch of magic users. And, like, at the very end, like, someone has to make a choice. Like, good and evil are, like, doing cosmic battle with, like, some avatars. And, like, the embodiment of evil put, like, all its power into one villain guy. And, like, that guy he was, like, really strong or something. I can't even fucking remember what the series was. It was about, like, wizards? I don't fucking know. Maybe I'll look it up later. But the good guys, like the embodiment of light, what they did was, like, it put most of its magic good light power into, like, the main character, but also it made, like, several other champions to, like, share the burden to, like, a lesser degree with, which is kind of like what's going on here. It's like the little friendship guys, like, they all kind of lift the load together, and we'll see during the sacrifice that, like, Oden's belief in other people is what allows good things to happen. But, Kaido's, he's selfish. He only cares about himself. Same with Orochi. Big jerk. I gotta find out what fucking book that series is. I cannot remember at all. Okay, anyway. Fighting is happening, and it's fucked up. Everyone's gonna die. That's so good.
The Shinobu appears. She has been loyal to Oden, and she is sort of defected from the other ninjas from the capital.
Yep.
Who are all Orochi fucks, Orochi stands right now.
Indeed.
And so the battle is going on for a while. They're getting real fucked up. That we see a shadow of Queen and I think King there.
Gotta be.
So much.
Did you know, by
happening.
The way, notably, Jack doesn't show up here. Jack canonically is 28 years old, and I think this is around like 18, 19 years in the past. So he'd be like 6, 7, 8 or something.
I think
that's probably why.
It's like 24, isn't it?
I think it was 24 before that 5-year time passed after that. I think
it's about the time.
Oh wait, we actually know it's exactly 20 years ago because there's a 20-year time skip that happens when they go to the. Okay, so there you go, 20 years. Give or take.
They've been counting down the years until it was 20 years left.
That's right.
This whole flashback. Yeah, so Kaido does his big dragon sneeze, and he burns so much stuff. And then here's the moment where Oden
here it is.
Does his double sword style dragon slice and cuts Kaido right on his dragon scale chest. And it really hurts.
Now, okay, yep, it hurts him. He falls down. Okay, good job. The question certainly rises, how the fuck did he do that?
Well, Well, he's very strong, isn't he?
I mean, but like Kaido certainly must have fought people like. I mean, he was on a crew with Big Mom, with Whitebeard, with that Zebek guy. Fought against the Roger pirates. Apparently, none of those people were ever able to hurt Kaido, but this boy was. Is it the swords that are the edge? Is it Oden himself?
I mean, it could be the swords, because, like, Wano is known for folding their metal a million times when they make a sword. It's the samurai capital of the world, literally.
That's true. All I'm saying is, I at this moment, I don't really understand how he was able to do this, and I'm hoping, and I think that it's very likely, that Oda will explain. It's probably going to be something about the swords themselves, but I suppose we'll see.
It's definitely a combination of the swords and the strength.
Sure.
This is definitely one of those mythological moments, like, and then he sliced the dragon, the only man strong enough to slice the dragon. You hear that as a legend, and it's, like, really cool. But then you see it as an actual flashback, and it's like, so why, like, what is his power level? Where would I place him on the power charts?
The first time we ever saw Kaido, he is presented as, like, the invincible man, and yet he has a giant scar on his, like, abs or whatever. And I was like, okay, that's got to be plot relevant. And I believe we talked about that on this show years ago. But
yeah, the Invincible Man, but like 20 years from now. Like, maybe he got stronger. I don't know.
Well, I mean, they say immediately afterward he landed a blow on the Invincible Kaido. So presumably that
okay.
that has
that was his thing already.
Seems to be.
Shtick.
Seems to be. I don't know. Anyway, Oda,
I think the only thing to
take away
take away is that Oden's so fucking epic, dude.
But he fucking fought goddamn Gold Roger in the past. And, okay, it's possible Kaido didn't specifically fight Gold Roger during, like, the fights of, like, the Rocks versus the Roger crew or any of that shit. And he's just, like, has fought less strong people, and that this is the strongest guy he's fought yet. That's all possible. I just want answers. There has to be some discussion of how this happened later, and I want it desperately. Yeah. I mean, I guess it could just be that Oden is just the strongest guy who's fought him. That just feels a little unsatisfying. So I guess I'll say I'm hoping for more, because okay, that sums it up. I'm hope for more information on how this happened exactly.
Maybe he put all of his like stat points into sword sharpness instead of like leadership intelligence.
I mean, that's definitely true. There's no doubt about that. He made many mistakes. And you know what? I guess people will say, and it is true, like, even when he was in the Roger Pirates, we saw all the time, and, like, abandoning his like, principality, whatever the fuck it is, like, of Curry and Wano as a whole, like, repeatedly, we've seen terrible leadership from him over and over and over again. Even on, like, the Whitebeard and Gold Roger crew, he would just, like, run ahead and go do things on his own, not even being, like, a good team player. Like, he probably should have died many times already. So I guess it very much is in character to just be a fuck-up and not plan things out even a little bit. But the specific thing of trusting the enemies that had murdered his father and were fucking up his land, that's a bridge too far for me to just expect him to just go along with. Okay, but anyway.
So he cut
Kaido. Good job.
He cut Kaido. The old hag pretends to be Momonosuke. And in that...
he looks like he's going in for the fucking kill real quick. Like he's about to fucking murder Kaido as Kaido had, like, fallen... presumably taking, like, the first damage he's ever taken in his whole fucking life. But as he's about to do that, as you're saying, yeah, something sneaky happens.
And then in that distracted state, Kaido gets up, clubs him on the head really hard, and Oden's down. That's it. Everyone else gets stabbed, killed, very hurt. And then apparently they were in the forest they were in. Caught fire, and there was a flame for 5 days. I don't know whether that means the fighting went on for 5 days in a burning forest, or whether they... I mean, I guess that's what it's implying.
It's got to mean that the fighting went on for a while, several more days. I would think. Think.
Then they got captured. They all lose. They should have done it when they had the chance. All of the citizens, they're like, it's too little, too late.
Yep.
Disappointing, and they're going to be killed. They're going to be executed by boiling in oil.
That's rough, guys. That's real rough. They got 3 days, and they're all going to be boiled. I got to say, I really like this final image of Oden sitting in the jail cell. Looks really cool. Might be my favorite panel of him of all time. He's so angry, and there's just a lot of emotion going on.
Yeah,
here.
he's got that big angry video game nerd frown right there.
He sure does. He sure does.
This game sucks. The game of life.
I'd rather eat a fucking bag of monkey goddamn dick-sucking ass AIDS marbles than fight Kaido. Yeah, that's a direct quote. All right, let's just go on, I guess, to our next fucking chapter. Chapter 971.
Right, so 971. Cover page is more of the same. Well, not more of the same. It's the guy from the Beiji Pirates. He's running.
Yep.
He's running, he's trying to help Chiffon. That's all we get there.
It says, keep going, Gotti. It's all up to you. It looks like he's making a final break for it. Maybe this guy will actually get like a cool moment, because he has not had anything yet. Here's hoping. Here's hoping. Do something cool, Oda. They always end these in like, the last page is usually pretty good, so hopefully we'll get like something good at the end of this.
Finally, this was going somewhere.
Yeah. Go for it, Oda. Do your best.
Okay, so this is the execution chapter, chapter 971.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone's gonna be fucking killed. And there's a giant, huge, burning pot of oil. How much oil is that? How many chips could you make with that oil? How many?
A couple of fries. Yeah, get some cod in there. I don't know. Good amount.
So, Oden says to Kaido, I'd like one last request, one chance to survive. Also, this guy falls in the oil. This just some random guard. Karma, says, "Ha, fuck you, get in," and then he slips in and he burns, and it's a very, very horrific looking thing. You can see like his melted skull in the last panel there.
He straight up melts. It's pretty fucked up, yeah.
Which is pretty cool. And then Oden says, if we can if we can survive in the pot for a set amount of time that you set, the ones alive can leave. That's what I would ask. And then Kaido's like, haha, that's cool. If you can survive for an hour, you can leave. I'm good with that. That's you have my word. And then he gets in. It's incredibly hot, obviously. Oden is in the thing. All of the other 9 red scabbards go to follow him, but then Oden picks up the plank that is connecting the pot to the thing, whatever, the walk on the boardwalk, and he holds it above his head while standing in the pot of boiling oil, protecting his vassals from being incinerated, and he stands there for an entire hour. He intends to stand there the whole time. And it's such a big epic moment. It's so badass, so much rippling abs and muscle going on here. Yeah.
It's this is good stuff. This whole conceit. Now, because I mean, it's actually a very reasonable thing to think that, like, well, hang on, those are shouldn't they be supporting him? I mean, he's kind of the most important one here, and also he is probably stronger than all of them put together, realistically speaking. So, is this really the best option here?
Well, but that's exactly the thing. He's the strongest one there. They could not live to support him.
Well, that's exactly what I was going to say. Yeah, I don't think any of these guys stands any chance of saving anyone unless Oden specifically sacrifices himself in this very specific, ironic death. So, yes, this is good. I have no issues with it, and it is very impressive and kooky spooky. And there he just sits for a while as the clock ticks on. Now, so he doesn't instantly melt like that other guy. He, in fact, is able to survive for a few seconds. And
well, the other guy doesn't literally melt, but yeah. Like his
looks like he melts
skin,
to me, but,
his skin melts off because it's weak skin,
Indeed.
He hasn't got a good, sturdy tan from work in the fields. He's just some guy. He's just some regal fucking nobleman with a sword.
Indeed. He's obviously very different. If this were other series, actually, so Oda has done something good for this situation. In most series, I would say it's dumb that, like, with this specific method of death or whatever, like, okay, if you just, like, burn if you light a man on fire who's like a 90-pound weakling and he burns and dies, like, okay, understandable. Then if you have just like a bodybuilder who's like really strong, like he will in no way be better at resisting fire and like, you know, like do better if you try to light him on fire or burn him alive or anything like that. So like if this were another series, I would be like, that's dumb, but like I get it. Okay, but given that this is One Piece, which has the specific real ability of haki, which manifestly turns one's will to live and will to, in general, into like physical armor and power and all that good stuff, this actually in universe makes more sense because Oda has done something like that. So I actually think this is just this really works for me, is what I'm trying to say. And maybe most people don't even give a shit about that, but I do. And I think it's cool. And this is like a good consequence to me of Oda putting that system in place.
It is
so well done.
It is interesting though that the way to present like haki has you know, beginning of the series they didn't have it, and then once it was like come to the forefront of the plot, it was shown in hard black skin. And then if this is the same sort of thing, if haki is preventing him from being boiled instantly, it's not being shown as him going completely black or whatever. So, like, could it be that the way to show haki, either you can show it when it's relevant or when you're drawing attention to it, and you don't show it when you're not, you don't need to draw attention to it, or is it like one or the other? Do you think it should be a rule that you should turn completely black or purple, as the anime would show? Like when you're using haki, since it was introduced like that.
You know, that's a fair question. Okay, like what I'm doing is kind of presenting a case that I think is kind of like the most charitable and like the most in keeping with everything. Like, it's totally reasonable that we could see that like Oda intended. Maybe he thought as he was writing this, like, you know, haki could be part of this situation. Like, that's a system that exists. It's also like if haki had never been introduced in One Piece, I have no doubt that Oda would have written this sequence exactly the same way. Because it's just the sort of thing you do in like a shonen manga like this, and I 100% believe Oda would have written it with that as well. I'm kind of just like in my own mind, because like science is science, right? It doesn't make sense that guys like Luffy and Roger are like as strong as they are, because like the laws of physics mean that you can't actually push over a building as a human being due to like the second law of physics or whatever the fuck it is.
As according to this, you know, fictional world could be different, but yeah.
I suppose that's I mean, okay, I would argue that, like, if that's true, then, like, you fundamentally have to change, like, the way lots of things exist. Because, like, the fucking electromagnets operate, the things that hold our cells together operate under a very specific set of physical realities. So, okay.
Nah, dude, Oda thought of all of that. He had it all written down.
He thought of all of that.
Down to the fucking quarks.
Why can fucking, you know, Cloud in Final Fantasy VII hold up a sword that weighs more than he is? It doesn't make sense. It wouldn't work. But the answer is magic, which is fine. It's the same sort of thing here. But I guess I'm just saying that, like, in my autistic brain, the fact that haki exists and that we know that will equals power in a general sense in One Piece makes it so that I feel a little bit more like satisfied.
Like you can buy this in this.
Yes,
context.
I can. That's
okay.
correct.
So even though there's no haki shown, it'll work.
Yeah. Plus, I mean, if I want to get even just to put it on another level, like look at the fact that we've seen in Wano the fact that like haki. Like Luffy using haki to like the training he's doing right now to like counter blows and stuff, that's been invisible. Like that's been like a non-visible, just like a black version of the haki. So like I don't know, could be that he's using that. I don't know. I can't prove that that's not happening. So there's some kind of bullshit wiggle room with haki in general, but it's good enough for me to just be happy, as you said before.
Yeah. So the time ticks on. Oden starts bleeding. And shaking and shivering, but shivering with heat, that is.
Indeed.
And people are sitting there like, this is taking too long, it's boring. It's like
literally bored. Literally bored.
burn quicker, die right now, they say.
They've got shit to do. I've got, I've got a podcast to record. Hurry up and die.
I've got a podcast. I'm trying to get my channel back right now.
We were in the audience that day and really bored because we had to go record a new podcast about these events.
And then Shinobu heard us and she slapped us, kicked us in the back of the head, drew a knife on our throat, said, "Fuck you. Oden's cool." Mm-hmm. And let me explain.
Like, no, he's not.
No, he's not.
Sucks.
And she's like,
he's
no.
He's a bad leader.
No, it is in fact you who suck. And she explained the reason why.
Yep.
And now we get the explanation as to why Oden was dancing like an idiot. And also...
So just a... Oh, yeah, go on.
And also the reason Orochi is on the throne. It is not to rule.
Yes.
It is to destroy everyone.
Let's recap these facts real quick. So, Orochi has assumed the throne specifically because the Korozumi guys, like the old lady and the old man, they helped him do it because that whole clan of the Korozumis, they are specifically motivated by the fact that like Orochi's grandfather attempt to seize the throne and like commit, to take over and all that stuff. I think, like, assassinate the current shogun or whatever. Okay, he failed, and so he was killed. But then the entire crew was punished for this, and the whole clan was, like, chased out of wherever the fuck, and were just, like, persecuted and treated absolutely horribly, to the point where it is kind of unfair that, like, Orochi was hated, and, like, I mean, Orochi didn't even know, but, like, that his family was seemingly hated. Although, I have a little bit of suspicion that, like, the old man and the old lady, because, like, he's the one, those are the ones who told Orochi about these things. I think they are either lying or exaggerating the amount of, like, persecution
it
that
could
his
be.
clan may have gotten.
I think, based on the other scene where we see the hag for the first time, the way she's talking about, like, they treated him like, she's obviously an evil sort of character, and she's manipulating him, teaching him the way to live his life, and he's believing her because she's a relative or whatever. And she's appealing.
She's like an IRL alt-right YouTube channel, or rather right-wing YouTube channel.
She's getting him down the pipeline.
Exactly. He really, I mean, the fact that he wants to punish everyone in Wano, he wants to destroy the country. This is straight up school shooter mentality, 100%.
Yeah.
Which is
so I get
cool.
I get the feeling from that his idea of the past is warped by them who maybe were just like a bunch of criminals who wanted to kill and gain power, and then they got caught out, and their children's children and children have been hounded, rightly so. Well, maybe not rightly so to kill children, but like. Well, the old people specifically are like evil people themselves and have been hounded, and so they are telling Orochi that he is being persecuted not for no reason, and he is not, and even though it's their influence that is the reason they are being hounded, is nothing to do with Orochi. It's the old people that he's talking to.
To consider, like, Orochi did not even know that, like, his people were, like, persecuted or anything like that until they showed up and told him. Like, he was definitely poor, and he, like, didn't have a great life circumstance, but he did not know that, like, that there was some, that everybody hates the Korozumis, and I'm not even sure that they do. See, this is another one of these pudding situations. I don't want to overcomplicate the story in my mind, but, like, I really think that Oda could be setting up for, like, a realization later on where, like, if there's an idea of, like, Momo's the one who, like, takes on Orochi and fights him out, like dragon versus eight-headed dragon, something cool like that, which I definitely think is possible. It could be that they don't really fight, but that, like, Momonosuke, what he does is, like, say to Orochi, like, like, Orochi, I'm sorry that happened to your family. Like, you didn't deserve it, but, like, the reality is, like, no one holds you personally responsible for, like, what your family did. You've been misled, and they just, like, awaken him from, like, this awful mentality that he's been led down, and it's more of, like, an emotional realization rather than,
I think
like,
that would be kind of interesting.
I'd love that.
I don't know how Momonosuke would know. Maybe he already knows more than he, has ever said about this specifically. But, like, if that does happen, whoever tells him, it would be interesting for Orochi to be an ally in getting rid of Kaido.
It's possible.
Because
the other thing to... Oh, yeah, go on.
Because, deep down, Orochi is one of the few, aside from the 9 Red Scabbards and stuff, he's one of the people who knows Oden a lot. And maybe if he changes his mind, it would be unlikely, but in this part of One Piece where people are dying more. But, it wouldn't be that weird, because we kind of already have 2 villains. To get rid of one...
Yeah.
In terms of turning him into an ally to help defeat the other, I think would be interesting.
It would be interesting. I mean, when you consider, even in this chapter, we'll get to it in a little bit. There are some things rather sympathetic about Kaido. I think Kaido's gonna be I don't think he's gonna be killed. I think he'll be defeated and chased off or something. And maybe fucking completely fuck off for the rest of the series or something. But he could potentially, just be kicked out of Wano and not a big deal. And Orochi could be kind of in the same boat. They both could be sort of redeemed, because Kaido's just being a jerk pirate. It's what jerk pirates do. It's not personal, I guess. But Orochi here might be specifically being misled by people. It's hard to say for sure. But the other factor here is that Orochi, even if he was misled, the reason that I don't want to overthink this is because Orochi has done a ton of horrible things already. Even if this current school shooter mentality of kill them all, they're all evil for doing this to my family and stuff, even if we redeem that, he has specifically ordered the human trafficking and straight up murder of so many people at this point. I'm not sure that could be redeemed, but then again, we've redeemed people like fucking Crocodile, who started an incredible civil war that killed God knows how many people. And other people of a similar stripe. So I'm not sure
it's
which way he's gonna go.
It's not like people who are redeemed are perfect people. It's just that you can forgive a pirate for certain things.
I mean, you shouldn't, but I guess you can.
As a pirate, you can forgive a person for doing some bad things if they turn to be trying to do good things from then on. Because everyone's illegal, everyone's a pirate, everyone has done bad things.
But there's a lot of difference between
pirates. There is a lot of difference. But
I get your point, though.
I mean,
Crocodile should not be loose. Crocodile should go to jail or be executed. He is a bad person who did bad things just because he wanted power. There was no good justification for any of the things Crocodile did, including murdering his own men just to keep his organization secret and all kinds of fucked up stuff like that.
That was
cool. Bad things.
That was cool. Add him to the crew.
Cool. Remember when he crucified King Cobra? That was pretty sick.
That was pretty cool, yeah.
That was dope. All right, anyway, okay.
Orochi and the crew when? Orochi before Jinbei, that's what I want to see.
I think Orochi's redeemable. Him and Caesar, they're going to be they're going to be the monster trio. It's going to be sick. Everyone's been wanting another Zoan in the crew. We could use a mythical Zoan. We got to round it out. Okay, so he wants to murder everybody, understood. Shinobu is spilling the beans to everybody in the crowd that this is what happened.
Yeah.
And of course she mentioned that for every dance he did, 100 people wouldn't be human trafficked and tortured and murdered or killed, which is just incredibly fucked up. I mean, Jesus fucking Christ, what happened to these people? I don't even want to think about it.
You know what? Here's another thing that's sort of strange. Mm-hmm. These hundreds of people, presumably the ones we see in this panel here, they're bound and gagged, blindfolded. By Oden accepting the deal, were these people freed? No. If they came back into the citizenry, wouldn't they know that he did that?
That's a great question. Okay, I think we have no choice but to assume this particular batch of people was not spared, but going forward, They basically would either kidnap less people or just lied to Oden, and because he bought so many other lies, maybe they just didn't, stop human trafficking more people. Because they say, for every dance he did, 100 people are saved. But we know that they weren't released after being captured, because word would have gotten out. He did that many times over 5 years. There's no chance that those people went free. They must have either captured less but still captured some, presumably?
I don't know. I mean...
I don't know. I'm confused.
I really hope he didn't agree to a deal where some people still got kidnapped.
It sounds like he did. Like, there's a very specific number of people saved. Okay, maybe the other thing is, maybe that this whole 100 lives saved thing is, like, sure, there's a number on it, but actually that's, like, more than they would have captured anyway. So, like, they just stopped doing it effectively. Yeah. But how can we trust that happened? How can we trust that? We can't. We can't at all.
Well... We can in the sense that, like, if numbers of people are reported missing, Oden would be clued in to the fact that people are going missing and being kidnapped.
You know...
So he would have done something then, if he heard that.
That's a fair point. It actually, this is relevant to say that, like, okay, I forget how many people were stated to be citizens of Alabasta, but I think that the final battle had, like, 1 million people fighting or something. So, like, the population of Alabasta must be, like, several million at least. I think it's safe to assume that Wano probably has a comparable amount of citizens, like several million, even though, like, the size of, like, Dressrosa, for example, is, like, weirdly small, and maybe Wano is similar. I don't know. This place seems a lot bigger than Dressrosa, I guess. So the point I'm making is, like, is 100 lives saved a lot relative to the total population of Wano, or, like, relatively more if there's, like, far fewer citizens? Like, how noticeable is the amount of people being kidnapped or not kidnapped? These are reasonable questions, and I feel fairly confident that Oda did not think about them at all. And that's fine. I don't really care one way or another. But the implications as we overthink this particular exchange, like, we all know what Oden's intention here was, to save people. But it would be weird to imagine he did all this stuff while still allowing some citizens of Wano to be human trafficked. Do you think he's just a utilitarian? He's like, hey, I'll save as many lives as I can. That would not be the Oden style that we've been thinking. Because, you know, even if it was like that, the way to save everyone forever is to stop Kaido and Orochi to start a war, to fight back immediately, yeah. Because as soon as he heard that Hyogoro was captured and that 16 of his men were killed, including his wife, that's what prompted him to actually fight back. 16 people. Okay, you know what? I'm just going to throw Oda up on here.
That as well as Orochi saying, that we're not leaving. There's no ship building going on.
I guess that does muddy the waters. That's true. I'm just going to give Oden the benefit of the doubt, and Oda as well, from a writing perspective. I'm just going to assume that this translates to human trafficking would effectively stop from Wano, based on these things. Who could agree to allow some human trafficking? Like, you'd be called a monster in real life.
I think, especially since in the previous chapter, there were a few panels where it's like, over the years, Oden does his dances and people sort of get used to it, and some people think it's dumb, but some people kind of like it, and it's just sort of like a funny thing, and it's, you know, it's not so bad, which leads me to believe that life in Wano is fine and nobody sees any problems. Well, the only thing they see is Oden being an idiot, and it's kind of annoying.
I see your point. It's just that there is the potential here that, like, let's just say that the population of Wano is, like, you know, let's say 10 million, just to throw, 1 million. Let's keep it small, say 1 million. Like, it would be pretty easy for a population of 1 million, for, like, you know, these pirates and stuff to still human traffic, like, I don't know, 1,000 people a year. That could easily be, like, absorbed and not really noticed by the population at large from, like, a place as big as Wano seems to be, assuming, like, that's the population. So I'm just not sure. Okay, but I'm just going to give him the benefit of the doubt and assume he thought it was protecting Wano. Seems like a reasonable assumption.
So Shinobu gets everyone woke. She explains the truth.
Yep.
Like, Oden... despite, you know, everyone lost faith in him, but he did it to protect you. And now you're laughing at him, so who's the idiot now? Well, it's still Oden, because, you know.
He made some goofs, but, like we were saying, from self-sacrifice, we can respect. He had the best of intentions, no doubt about that.
So,
Indeed.
So he's boiling, and then everyone in the crowd that's the next chapter. I suppose we should cut here for this episode of the podcast, and we will come back with the most recent chapter 972, which we are going to
be
record
ready
right now.
It'll be up right as soon as this. But hey, for the end of this episode, hey, if you want, go check out that. But if you don't, don't forget to go to that patreon.com/thepodcastpirates. Support the show. We're catching up, boys. They can't stop us now. It's going to be a good time. Follow us on Twitter at, The Podcast Pirates. I think that's...
On Twitter, Podcast Ahoy.
Oh, yeah, you're right. It's at Podcast Ahoy. That's right. Go follow us there. Links below. Sounds good. See you very soon.
Follow the Discord, of course.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Join the Discord. Down below, link. Talk One Piece. It's a jump in place. They've been dying without our guidance, just like the people of Wano without Oden to guide them. We too are absent lords, leaving our people to suffer and die under shitty memes and spam posters and the equivalent of Kaido and Orochi. Forgive us, everybody. Okay, we'll see you soon, everybody. Be back in a bit. Bye.
Bye.